the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports.
Money makes the world go round, and on this part of the world, in the great city of Port Harcourt City, on Atlantic Television Network, this is Money Time. On ATN Business today, global stocks, bullish trend boosts Asian shares. On the economy, EFCC alleged that foreign missions use third parties. In petroleum matters, federal government orders marketers to open pumps for CNG vehicles. In Naira denomination, Nigerians decry the new Turkey visa fees regime. Good day, viewers, and welcome to a fresh episode of ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network right here in the business city of Port Harcourt. This is the network's medium of bringing the happenings in the economic sector of the society to our discerning viewers. This program is aimed at bringing to the doorstep of the viewers the business, financial, and economic activities from all strata of society. Its delivery is accentuated through the various stock exchanges across the world, news about government economic activities, private sector business activities, laced with expert opinions, stakeholder analysis, and correspondent reports. Welcome to ATN Business, and by the end of this show, you can be rest assured of being well informed accurately of financial activities around the world. Let's go for a short commercial break, and when we return, we'll reel out the details for today. Please stay tuned.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human
on the point of order.
Honorable
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
people into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human
on the point of order. Honorable
you
the crash out, so no agreement with the EU, but
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. You human
on the point of order,
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
so no agreement with the EU, but
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it.
Welcome back, and now let's go into the market reports, local and international business news for today. Asian shares were mostly higher on Thursday after U.S. stocks rallied to records on hopes that inflation is heading back in the right direction. The optimism came from a report showing United States consumers had to pay prices for gasoline, car insurance, and everything else in April that were 3.4% higher overall than a year earlier, less than March's inflation rate of 3.5%. The slowdown was a relief after reports for the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, earlier this year had consistently come in worse than expected. Wednesday's reports built on expectations that the Federal Reserve might cut its main interest rate this year, the major preoccupation for most investors. In Asian trading, Tokyo's Nikkei 225 index gained 1.4% to 38,920 points, even after the government reported that Japanese economy contracted at 2% annual rate in the January-March quarter. Hong Kong's Hang Seng index rose 1.5% to 19,355%. The Shanghai Composite Index edged 0.1% lower to 3,118 points. In Australia, the S&P ASX 200 advanced 1.7% to 7,881 points, while South Korea's Kospi climbed 0.8% to 2,753 points. Taiwan's TAIEX was up 0.7%, and the Sensex in India gained 0.2%. On Wednesday, the S&P 500 jumped 1.2% to top its prior high set a month and a half ago, closing at 5,308 points. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added 0.9% to 39,908 points, and the Nasdaq jumped 1.4% to 16,742 points, adding to its record set a day earlier. Going into stocks, in major stocks that tend to benefit the most from the lower interest rates helped lead the market. Home builders gained on hopes that cuts by the federal government of United States could lead to an easier mortgage rates with Lena, D.R. Horton, and Pulte Group all rallying more than 5%. Big techs and other high-growth stocks also rode the wave of expectations for lower rates, and the Nvidia gain of 3.6% was the strongest force pushing the S&P 500 upwards. The real estate stocks in the S&P 500 climbed 1.7%, while stocks of electricity companies and other utilities rose 1.4%. The dividends they pay back look better to investors when bonds are paying less in interest. On Wall Street, Petco Health Plus Wellness helped lead the market after soaring 27.9%. It named Glenn Murphy, who is the CEO of investment firm FIS Holding, as its executive chairman. On the losing end was GameStop and AMC Entertainment, as momentum reversed following their jaw-dropping starts to the week. GameStop fell 18.9%, though it's still up 126.5% for the week so far. AMC Entertainment sank 20% after it said it will issue nearly 23.3 million shares of its stocks to wipe out the $163.9 million in debt. A separate report on Wednesday showed no growth in spending at U.S. retailers in April from March. Economists have expected a 0.4% growth. Slowing retail sales could be seen as a positive for markets because it could reduce the upward pressure on inflation, but weaker U.S. consumer spending would erode one of the main pillars keeping the economy out of a recession. Pressure has grown particularly high on lower-income households. In the bond market, the yield on the 10-year Treasury eased to 4.34% from 4.45% late Tuesday. The 2-year yield, which moves more slowly and closely with expectations for federal action from the Federal Reserve Bank of United States, sank to 4.72% from 4.82%. Traders are now forecasting a nearly 95% probability that the Federal Reserve Bank of United States of America cuts its main interest rate at least once this year, according to data from CME Group. That's up just below 90% a day before. In other trading, early Thursday, U.S. benchmark crude oil picked up 32 cents to end at $78.92 per barrel in electronic trading on the New York Mercantile Exchange. It gained 61 cents on Wednesday, and Brent crude, that's the international standard crude, was up 30 cents at $83.05 per barrel. The United States dollar fell 154.21 Japanese yen from 154.88 Japanese yen, and the euro rose to $1.87 from $1.88 on the previous. And on ATN Business, don't forget we are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. And you can connect with us and watch us on our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on X, formerly Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, and watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. And on to local business news. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission yesterday alleged that foreign missions based in Nigeria use third parties to transact in foreign currencies. The EFCC Acting Director of Public Affairs, Wilson Ewujare, disclosed this in an interview yesterday. On May the 11th, a report showed that EFCC sent an advisory letter titled EFCC Advisory to Foreign Missions Against Invoicing in US Dollar to Yusuf Tuga, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. According to the report, EFCC banned foreign missions in Nigeria from transacting in foreign currencies and mandated the use of Naira in their financial businesses. Reacting to the report yesterday, Ewujare said that it was not the place of the EFCC to ban or direct foreign missions in the manner or way they handled their finances, as against alarming headlines in the news. He said it was against the law for foreign missions based in Nigeria to transact in foreign currencies, hence the Commission's mandate on using the Naira in financial businesses. We recognize as a Commission that the foreign missions are representatives of their home countries, enjoy certain diplomatic privileges by international law, but the Commission is not a place to want to interfere with some of the privileges that they enjoy under the international law, he said. It is not within the remit of the EFCC to either ban or direct foreign missions in the manner or the way they handle their finances. What happened is that the Commission, over time, observed that a number of the foreign missions, by the manner in which they handled consular services, a number of them have engaged third parties to carry out consular services on their behalf, and those third parties have been invoicing in dollars. Some even went to the ridiculous extent of determining the exchange rate or the Naira in the course of the transaction with Nigerians and some foreign nationals based in Nigeria. We thought that the practice conflicted with the extant laws and regulations in Nigeria, and we felt compelled to bring this practice to the knowledge of the missions through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Onwamalam further clarified that the EFCC never wrote any letter to any foreign mission in Nigeria. The advisory that we issued was to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and that we did what was essential to bring this practice, which we believe conflicts with Section 20, subsection 1 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act. That section of the Recipient Act makes the Naira the only legal tender in Nigeria, which presupposes that this is the only accepted currency for doing business within the borders of the country, he added. Speaking on whether the ministry had responded to the letter, Onwamalam said that the Foreign Affairs Ministry has the protocol of engaging with foreign missions in Nigeria and within their competence to determine how to transmit the information to the various missions in Nigeria. Essentially, our focus is to discourage the dollarization of transactions within the local Nigerian economy, he said. And now we'll go for a very short break, and when we return, we have a power-packed interview in place. Please stay tuned and don't move a muscle.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable
You are a human
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what they blow.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what they blow.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
welcome back to ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network right here in the big business city of Port Harcourt. Don't forget, we are on Star Times channel 194, and you can also watch live on YouTube. Our guest today is a business consultant of repute by the name of Nkem Onwamalam. He's back here again on popular demand. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming. All right, we'll go to the first story for today. The average price of imported food commodities to Nigeria rose to its highest level. It rose to its highest level, reaching 34% in 1 year between April 2023 and April 2024. This represents an increase of 200 basic points from 32% recorded in March 2024, according to an analysis of the Consumer Price Index report released by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics on Wednesday. The federal government had ruled out the importation of food as part of strategies to address the high cost of foodstuffs and the economic hardship troubling the country. However, internal and external factors, including the global supply chain and the shocks that came with it following the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war, the surge in global oil prices, foreign exchange scarcity, and subsequent depreciation of the local currency have increased the nation's dependency on food imports. Mr. Nkem.
Yes.
Yeah. So the very familiar sides of spending so much on food imports. Meanwhile, we are known as an agrarian society of repute. Why are we still dependent on food imports in such a big and well-blessed country?
Okay, the signals are there.
Yeah.
Truthfully, this news, is a high cost in commodity of imported foods.
Yes.
Is something that is expected. It's not something, there's no surprise there.
Okay.
To look at that headline as though it was a surprise, will be living in a fool's paradise, like they say.
Okay.
Because we cannot continue to do the same thing. The wise man has said that a foolish man is someone that continues to do the same thing and expect different results. So it's expected that imported food prices will skyrocket and then influence also the inflation that we are experiencing.
Exactly.
And the pointers are there. Why would it not increase? Is our government, the federal government of Nigeria, are we doing enough? We have a government that does not have what I would call the willpower to do what is required. First and foremost, it is very clear these are imported goods coming from foreign countries. That is to say that Forex has to be involved.
Definitely.
Now the interchange in Forex, in our currency, we see the consistent depletion of our own local currency. We see how it continues to weaken and continues to deepen. So what do you expect when the dollar, as at yesterday, is going at around 1,520 naira averagely against the dollar?
Exactly.
And then you purchase these goods abroad with the dollar,
yes,
and you bring it back to a country like Nigeria, and you expect that the rate will be the same. It's not possible. All right, so these are not realistic things. So if maybe a paper news, like maybe ATN and other news lines are putting this out almost as if it was a surprise, not for some of us, because these are the things that we have been talking about. We have been pressing upon it and say, okay, you have an economy that you want to work. What are you doing? Government has done almost nothing and little as it pertains to improving and increasing agriculture in locally produced food in this part of the world. What have we done since the last administration? Since the previous 8 years from the previous president and previous government? What have they done? And then in this new government, within the past year, how much can they say they have actually done in a bid to help local production of food? Because food production is not enough. We're not producing enough. So until you produce enough, you find the common economics of too many naira chasing few goods. And you know what that means. Yeah. Elementary economics has taught us that when too many naira or money chases a few goods, it now gives room for inflation.
Exactly.
Because people can influence the price whichever way they want because the demand is high, whereas supply is little. So these are the things that government would say, what have they done to try to make sure that local production is up, and then local production, if not at 100%, can compete favorably with importation of food. So you can see a country like Nigeria with vast landmass, that we have left ultimately for kidnappers to use as a den. That is absolutely what we've done. We've left the large landmass in the north, some even in the south. A lot of people talk about large landmass in the north. What happened in the south?
Yeah.
Even in the south, we have a lot of land that can be harnessed to improve our economy. Because economic development ties a lot on things like food production and what have you. So for people like us, there's no surprise there, because even local production, or even local food will continue to even increase. I'll be surprised if they say there's no inflation even in local food.
There is.
You and I go and we buy our garri in the buckets, in the basins, and in the garri, and they are not at the same prices.
Exactly.
Why is it like that? First and foremost, the indices are there, the pointers are there. Because the farmer that comes from Imoha or any other local government that brings yam from Ogoni, they are bringing it into Port Harcourt. The logistic cost of transporting these things to us is no longer the same. So you say, let us take away subsidy by the recommendation of IMF. Let us, follow IMF's recommendation in total. You have to understand that some of these IMF recommendations and their guidelines cannot apply, in total, into our own economic realities. Our realities are a bit different. So if you apply and you take away the subsidy, and the woman and the old person, the farmer that is bringing their goods from this end of River State and the other end of River State, they now struggle to bring it down here. They are going to add their cost will eventually form the basis of what they will price the product at.
Exactly.
So we have the local inflation that they are not talking about. That's there. That will continue.
Almost going to 40% inflation.
That will continue. And then, so the issue of foreign foods or imported foods, causing some kind of inflation or prices doubling and multiplying is a no-brainer.
Exactly.
It's a no-brainer. There's no time we're expecting it to stay as it is. So that would be my take. And I want to strongly encourage the government of the day to do the needful. Let their actions tally or align with their supposed intentions. They make us feel like they have great intentions in several ways. But we're not seeing the willpower to do what is required in the right places. We're seeing them demonstrate strong will when they have to take away things that benefit the public. But let us see them act in places. What are you doing as regards the agricultural infrastructure in the country? What are you doing to support farmers? What are you doing to encourage farmers? What are you doing to also, after you have supported farmers and encouraged farmers, what are you doing in terms of haulage and logistics in moving products of goods and services across? What are you doing in terms of the road infrastructure that will allow these things to go easily and then leave the prices at minimum? What are you doing about police extortion?
Exactly.
Police extortion between the north and the south. If I did River State alone, the extortion that the drivers go through between wherever they're coming from to get their produce into town is ridiculous.
Exactly.
And somehow, like I say, they have to transfer these things into the cost in the virtual pricing. So these are things that government needs to pay attention. They can't continue to act like they are blind or like they are not seeing what is happening. What police is doing to commercial drivers that are bringing this in. What what they call the elimination of a subsidy, what it's doing in terms of petroleum and then the economy. Petrol as of today, some people are saying 820, 850.
Imagine.
And so what do you think would happen if somebody eventually buys that petrol, puts in their car? They cannot charge you 800 naira for more down into town.
No way.
It can't be the same.
Exactly.
So these are very realistic things. The government of the day has to sit up and then do what is needed.
Now, I have this theory. I have this, let me not call it a theory, let me call it a hypothesis. That maybe we have the crop of leaders that do not look inward. They see themselves as, they watch themselves as contemporaries of their fellows across the world, that they must use the best of things, and the best of things has to be imported. Because I don't see the brainer behind investing heavily in local agriculture, but deciding that importation of what other farmers abroad produce should be better. There was this report about British Airways importing pizza from London, which is not a pizza-making country. I mean, Italy is known for making pizza. But now you have a class of people that import pizza through the airplanes, through the aircraft, from United Kingdom to Nigeria. And is there a correlation between the mindset of our leaders towards always having, we want to go abroad, we want to behave like people in the West, that is stalling the agricultural industry in Nigeria? Because I don't think it is very difficult constructing good roads into the farm, getting produce from the farm to the markets. Is there a correlation between the mindset of our leaders and what is happening right now concerning food inflation of 34%?
I wouldn't say yes, but it's not something to, completely ignore. Because, when you begin to operate at that class, that political class, there are certain things that you believe are better. You have somewhat been trained to believe that certain things from a certain part of the world is better than what you have. But ultimately, what we're appealing to the government and crying to them for is not for themselves.
Yes.
They can go and buy gari in London if they wish. If they wish, they want to buy cassava in Italy. There's no problem. But let them make room for our people. Make room for the average Nigerian, for the common man, to have access to these things.
Exactly.
Because we still believe that we have great gari here in River State.
Definitely.
We have beautiful gari in Kwere, Ogoni, and other parts of River State. And, there are other parts of the south, like Delta State, Warri Gari, and the rest of them.
Yes.
So our people still love their gari.
Definitely.
That way. So, but if you, as a government, because you believe you have, from the resources that you have extracted from government coffers, you believe that you can buy cassava and gari from Italy and whatever part of the world, feel free. Let them go ahead. But for the people, we're talking about what would benefit an average Nigerian. The average Nigerian is our interest.
Exactly.
And let that also be their interest. Like I said, let their supposed, and I use the word supposed, very tightly, their supposed intention, because they always sound and make us feel as though they have good intentions. Let their supposed intention align with their actions.
Exactly.
For the people.
You hit it right at the point. All right, let's go over to the next story. Don't forget, we are having as our host an ATN Business today, Nkem Onwamalam, an author and a business consultant of repute, and he is sharing his 2 cents of ideas with us, and it is very, very revealing. We hope that by next week he is still going to be here again to still enlighten us more on business topics for the day. But now let's move on to a similar story. Reflecting on the inability of our leaders to tap into this market to make sure that Nigerians benefit much, even from our local industries. And now the Nigerian Development and Finance Forum, a group, Nigerian Development and Finance Forum, has recommended that Nigerian leaders fly local carriers for their international travels. This was one of the resolutions they reached at the just concluded NDFF 2024 conference held in Abuja. During the 2-day conference with the theme, The Road to Economic and Social Welfare Transformation, the forum noted that buying made in Nigeria is vital for growing and developing the local economy. It must be parcel of the duty of all Nigerians, and government officials must go beyond the talk or simply make local content legislation, that they need to match the practice with policy by showing preference for Nigerian products. The Nigerian public functionaries must fly Nigerian carriers for official international travel. Now, we have a fluttering and fluctuation in the aviation sector in Nigeria. We have our challenges in aviation, but we just had a breakthrough with Air Peace being able to break into the UK market for the first time as a Nigerian carrier. But we are still having an issue where a group has to recommend that our leaders, at least our leaders, should fly local carriers for international flights. What could be the reason for this impetus that they have to now plead that we should use made in Nigeria products? Is made in Nigeria, is there anything wrong with made in Nigeria products that makes the leaders to boycott these same products, please?
You know, I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with made in Nigeria, you know, but overall it's our character, you know, the character of our people. Unfortunately, you know, this part of the world, we have a reputation, all right? And even within ourselves, we look at ourselves somehow. And that reputation is always about, you know, low quality and negligence. So there might be concerns from this political class or the leaders feeling like, okay, this is a Nigerian thing, and they may not want to, you know, keep up to standard. I know anything that has to do with flights, you have to, you know, safety has to be top notch, because whatever happens, you know. But whatever the case, if we have to advise them, if somebody has to appeal to them at that level, that before they now fly Nigerian carriers or patronize made in Nigerian goods, if somebody has to do that, then they don't even know the responsibility. They don't even know what they're even in for, because it is a responsibility, particularly given the current economic state. We are at a place where our naira is weak as it can be, weaker against economies like Ghana next door. You know, the Ghana cities. You know, becoming weaker, you know, against the CFA. You know, our currency is becoming so weak. So one of the primary things that we must do is to make sure that we turn the economy into a production and manufacturing economy. Because by so, we can get people interested to deal with us. Because over the years, oil, who is our primary source of revenue, you know, has been, that industry has been very volatile. And then very criminally dominated, even in this part.
Yeah.
A lot of our oil is being stolen.
Yeah.
So our revenues are not as high and as good as they used to be. So there has to be, you know, common sense and common economics tells you that there has to be another source.
Exactly.
And the other source that we can tap into is to say what other areas. So we need to begin to turn our economy into a manufacturing or production economy, so that people can begin to, you know, interest other parts, other economies and other countries in the world to come and buy from us. So the leaders should, as a matter of urgency, buy Nigeria, patronize local content and local manufacturers and local producers. All right?
Okay.
So that's slightly away from, you know, flying.
Okay.
Because when it comes to flying, I would also say that flying is not the biggest problem we have.
Okay.
Because today, we only have one carrier.
Yeah.
How many people can it carry? And Alex, you know, of the chairman of Airpeace, has come and told us that the thing is, his airline, the flight to London is booked up till September.
Whoa.
Do you understand? They're already pre-booked till September. So if you tell leaders to fly local, I don't want to fly tomorrow, it's not possible.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So, but that also brings a question. It brings a question of how much is government doing? It's a government that does not understand the role of small, medium enterprises in economic development and growth.
Yeah.
Does not understand how to grow a government. They don't understand how to grow an economy. You want this to happen, but we don't have enough carriers. We just have one carrier.
Whoa.
We don't even have a national carrier.
We don't have a national carrier.
That will take people abroad. So the options are minimal. So you can't really, the fault when it comes to flying does not lie or depend wholly on the leaders or the politicians, all right? Because they may want to fly and there's no one available.
Okay.
Because it's just one carrier for now. Alex has also said that they're going to be putting out, was it 300 planes? Or how many he said they were putting out to fly New York, other parts of America,
okay,
and add some more for some more fleets to London.
Yes.
And when that happens, hallelujah. But it's also going to be a monopoly that might work against us.
Okay.
All right. So the reason why this, you see, the moment Allen came into the scene for international flights to London, you see that other international airlines began to crash their prices.
Exactly.
Because the monopoly, they knew that there was a problem.
Exactly.
And then he was charging in naira.
Yes.
It was, there was a problem for them. So Alex, and you cannot blame me when it comes to microeconomics. Like, you cannot blame me. After a while, if he monopolizes that range for too long, it becomes a problem for us.
Exactly.
So government, as a matter of urgency, needs to invest, making sure that the SMEs have. SMEs, last time I checked, SMEs, small and medium enterprise, when it's college, a lot of people will feel like, okay, it's them, and your business is not even making up to 10 million. SMEs are businesses that are making between 10 million and over 500 million in revenue. So these are big deals. So what is government doing to support these people so that we can have more productions? If not airline, go 500 million, you won't be able to run an airline.
Exactly.
Talk about international.
Exactly.
But let's talk about what are you doing to support businesses? There are other businesses, they have revenue in excess of that, even more, that can stand in and do this business. There are other local carriers. All right?
Yes.
Because where there are local carriers that can go international, what are you doing to make the field very level for others to come in?
Exactly.
So we have the other guys that were not about to bother with their names, but we have the other guys that are local carriers, or local airlines.
Yes.
What can we do as a government to support them to make sure that we have more than one?
Exactly.
Which will also help us, because you now see people who have to want to fly from. That's another way of making sure that your currency is strengthened by exporting a service.
Exactly.
Exporting a service. So because Nigeria is an economy that is supposed to thrive, because of our population.
Yeah.
Wherever you see the numbers, the people, there's money there in time for business.
Definitely.
So a lot of business people are coming in from all parts of the world.
Yeah.
So they will be flying these airlines, and they will be paying us in our currency.
Yeah.
They'll be looking for our currency.
Exactly.
To use and pay us. And that desire, that intention, that search for our currency now begins to make our currency more relevant.
Yes.
The more relevant it becomes. So if we have like 2-3 carriers, Nigerian carriers that are charging in naira, you see every day people are flying into the country, and they're flying with these carriers and they're looking for naira. There's no how we do not support what the government is already doing.
Exactly.
To make sure that the economy is strengthened and the naira is strengthened. So the issue does not necessarily lie on the carriers for now, because we just have one.
Yes.
So by all means, let them fly, local carriers. But overall, beyond just flying and airlines, let us patronize locally produced goods.
Goods.
That is the idea. Locally produced goods, because it's going to do us a world of good if we want to make sure that our economy and our naira is strengthened, to do us a world of good. And the government again, So what is government doing to support in terms of grants, in terms of facilities? Government, when they talk about facilities, now you see them release 2 billion, 10 billion, and they say they want to help SMEs, small business, and they begin to give people 500,000, 1 million naira, 1.5 million naira as loans and grants.
Yeah.
What are you doing, really? What are you doing? A lot of the time, the same people that release this money are the ones that go and look for their kinsmen, to transfer the money to.
Exactly.
They begin to look for names here and
Exactly.
there. So we need to have systems in place. I was with some of my friends who were talking about how the BVN and the NIM ought to be unified.
Yes.
So that the system is centralized.
Exactly.
Then you can work out who really needs what.
Good.
But today we cannot even work out who is the poorest of the poor. So you bring out a scheme that is supposed to support small and medium scale, and these people don't have access to it because they don't have anybody in power. These are the things that government must do. And this enough of this 1 million naira, 1.5 million naira grants and transfers that you are giving to businesses, and you think it will transform their lives.
Exactly.
I think as of now, that is as much as we can say on the matter. Our government need to be a bit more responsible. They need to begin to develop this strong will, the willpower to do what is required, so that their actions will align with their supposed intentions.
Oh, I wish and I hope and I know that many people in the positions of power who are occupying these places that are supposed to make this change are listening to our guest today, in the person of Mr. Nkem Onwamalam, a book author and a social and business commentator on Atlantic Television Network Business. We know that by next week, we are still going to come here to trash more issues that pertain to our economy, our finances, and business in totality. I want to thank you so much for making it
Thank you for having
down
me.
here.
Thank
It's
you.
always a pleasure having you.
Always a pleasure to be here.
And this is where we wrap it up on ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network. Watch us on our social media handles, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network. And by this time tomorrow, we'll still grace your screen and give you much more for your viewing pleasure. From my part, as your host, Raymond Ken Mbata, I say peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Until we grace your screen, same time tomorrow, stay tuned and keep up for ATN Politics coming up next. Thank you.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human
on the point of order.
Honorable They are not picking our calls. They made up their mind.
So no agreement with the EU, but